reject this paper. The first, the method he used is not really clearly introduced. The second, you find a lot. I will not just say it, but I will list example. Which one? He did not say it in a clear way. The second, the data he used. So the method is unclear. The data he used, he just summarized. This is a very big project in Europe. And all the data is from that project. And that project did not open the data source. So I cannot access all of the data he claimed they have data. So I think the data he used is poorly introduced. He did not provide detail of the data. So I cannot assess the quality of the data. You just only claim my data is from a big project. It is of no use because the data bank is not in public domain. So that will be the second reason. Of course, I will list a lot of examples. And the third one, this will be the most critical one. Many statements are not supported by evidence or not supported by the analysis. During the presentation today, I think most of the students already indicated several points. The first one will be the comparison between the Ishihara equation and his data. And he claimed most of the data fit well with the Ishihara curves, Ishihara theorem. It is not true. So it means his statement is not supported by the analysis. I will provide another example in my talk later. I will show you. He claimed all of the evidence of the liquefaction related to the fractures, related to the high groundwater table are highly correlated with the buried abundant channels. But he did not show where is the abundant channel is. And all of the information he shows, like the fractures or the high groundwater table, it is not clearly indicated. If he wants to say a statement, this one and this one is highly correlated, please show me. I want to see it. So if you show the distribution of the things you mentioned and show where is the abundant buried channels and they will fit, then I believe. Do you agree with me? I believe it is true, but he did not show it. That will be the problem. When you try to write a paper, you always will make this kind of mistake. Your statement will be correct, but you did not show it in a clear way. So your reviewer will not believe you. And when you accept you receive the review comment, you could be very angry. It indeed, I indicated it. Where? And you argue, I write it in my paper, but it's in a very unclear way. The reviewer will only says 2 days, 3 days to review your paper. What you expected. So you need to show it in a very clear way, but not anticipated the reviewer understand all. It is impossible. Okay? So this will be the main reason I reject this paper. And as you may see here, of course, my review comment always will be a nightmare for the authors. Very long. How many pages? There'll be 8 pages. So there'll be my comment to this. I will provide my comment to all of the students who make the presentation today. But all the participants, I will provide you per request. If you want to have anything, you will write an email to me. So I will not ask Sing to distribute this to all the participants. No, I will only distribute it to the presentation, the student who make the presentation today. Okay? And那个有你可能还记得，你有一段时间，你有 review，拜托你，你先 review，看更资讯，对。What
can I ask a question for what you just explained?
Yes, please.
So, for example, you mentioned about data. Also, it's the kind of data, and you cannot have access to the data source. But in that case, what you do? If I cannot show you my data, because there are some data they are foreseen.
Yeah. I write some example to the general comment below. So if you are interested, you can read it. All of my comments are focused on the one which is highly related to his research. It means if I cannot make sure the data, how the data get and how he do it, I cannot guarantee your analysis is correct or not. Understanding? I'm not asking him to provide all of the information related to his data, but if his analysis or his statement need to have the support from the data quality or the details of the data, I will be convinced. Without this, I will not be convinced. So that will be very simple. Am I convinced you?
So it's I cannot say that my data is considered big. I have to explain the details.
Yeah, but the one when you make the explanation for your analysis, if this is highly related to the data you get and related to the data quality, then you need to provide some more details about how did you do it and what is the data quality is. If I ask you, right? So generally, for example, there are a lot of the study related to the landslide susceptibility analysis. Recently, every year we will have received hundreds of papers right for the landslide susceptibility analysis, but usually they will only document they have a landslide inventory. And so they use the landslide inventory to make the analysis. So all the analysis need to base on the correctness of the landslide. If I don't believe your precisions, your resolutions, your way to produce the landslide inventories, how can I trust you? Your analysis is meaningful. Understand? So that will be the main point. Okay, very good question. And you have very critical thinking. This will be a very important characteristics for researchers. 大家要跟他学习。 Please, any questions or comments?这手不够快，它那个点击的那个速度设的，我每次点都点不进去。Okay, so this will be the comment from the second paper. Again, 8 pages. 8 pages. As you know, he is my very good friend. We know each other for more than 20 years. Now he worked in US in Lawrence, Berkeley. So now I summarize his study here. And I believe most of the students also know what is the main contribution study. I just put some keywords here. So this will be a new probe. Sim fit or probe. I need to stress this is not the first paper introduced the sim fit. He already write several papers. So this will be the not first time to use this probe to solve problem. But this will be a first time to make the experiments on 2 4 segment. One reactivated by the 2011 earthquake. One did not. So there will be the new contribution. And the most important features of this, it is the population and the relatively displacement. So I write relatively displacement here. So you know, you can say displacement, you can say deformation. But the most precise terminology will be the relatively displacement. He fixed the measurement on 2 points. So the displacement is the displacement between these 2 points. So we call it relative displacement. So this will be the most precise way to describe it. Caused by pressure injections. So he increased the pore pressure. The pore pressure will change the effective stress. When the effective stress changes, then you will have displacement. So this will be mechanics. Okay? And this will be the in situ test part. Another important part will be the hydromechanical numerical model. We use this to calibrate the parameters. Using the calibrated parameters to explain why there are some fault reactivated, but some did not. So there will be the key information we try to do. I suggest this paper can be accepted, but I have 2 concerns, and I have quite a few specific comments or suggestions. Provide below. What is my 2 main concerns? The first one, I think, weak part of its side. Why I talk about in situ stress? Please thinking about if a fault reacted by a big earthquake, what is the controlling factors? How to control a rupture fault? What is the rupture of fault? You can understand the rupture of a fault. There will be kind of failure, and this failure will. What control a failure? What control a failure? 2 things. The first is stress. The other is the strength. If the stress larger than strength, then failure. If the stress smaller than strength, no failure. Right? So in situ stress and strength. Because you are talking about the failure along the failure plane. So the in situ stress is highly related to the orientation of that plane. So I talked about all of the topic he wants to talk about is related to the in situ stress tensor, fault strength, and the fault orientation. If you have these three, you can make the evaluation. But he did not say too much about the in situ stress tensor. He just assumed all of the stress are derived from gravitation. I think Qi pointed out this clearly. So I fixed the model boundary. And I asked the model to make the gravitation equilibrium. And I can get the stress and make all the analysis. The author needs to justify this approach is reasonable. If this approach is reasonable, then all the conclusion will be accepted. If this approach is not acceptable, then all the conclusion will be wrong because your in situ stress is wrong. So this will be my first concern. The author responds to me in a very positive way. He's trying to prove why he made this assumption. And I can accept. Okay? And he mentioned this in his paper. I think that'll be great. With this clarification, nobody can challenge it. Then that will be a very good paper. This will be the first comment or concern I provide to him. And the second, also indicated by the students. Many students mentioned it. So I think the most important implication is whether a small fault segment will be triggered by a design earthquake or not, like a dam or like a nuclear power station. If we have a design earthquake, well, this small segment triggered by this design earthquake, or the operation earthquake, or the maximum earthquake, anyway, for the design of the infrastructures, we have many different earthquakes to make the design. So this should be the main thing of his study. And this main thing should appear from the abstract to introduction, to methodology, to results, to discussion, and to conclusions. You need to use this, penetrate through all his paper. Then the contribution will be enhanced. In his paper, he did mention it. He mentioned it, but in a very unclear way. So I understand this research, so I can appreciate his contribution, and I will accept it, of course. But actually, if somebody did not know this in a very clear way, he could overlook the contribution of this study. So I provide this to him, and he accepts my suggestions. And of course, others will be my minor or specific comments related to abstract, related to introduction, related to other points. So what is the time?
Now it's 150.
150.
Yeah,
So it's about a time.
We start on the two.
Yeah. I will quickly go through. And I will show you later. The right-hand side will be the before. Right? The left-hand side will be before. The right-hand side will be the after. After I give the suggestion to him. The left-hand side is before. right-hand side is after. I think Lynn writes these suggestions. And you mentioned the stereo net should not be here. So the left-hand side will be before, right-hand side will be after. So the author did do consider my suggestions in a very positive way. So now he changed the hour and the minutes into minutes and the second. And he indicated many important time to corresponding to the manuscript, to the main text, 1-to-1. So he writes something, and if you look at the figure, you can read the number directly. So you can easily to know where he said it. Okay. So again, 8 pages. And I will add one more. So he submitted this paper to techno physics again. So this will be the R1 vision. So I read it again, and I provide follow-up comments. I say, thanks to the author, put the many efforts to incorporate my comment into his manuscript. I'm almost satisfied, but I think there are something can be further improved. So again, I provide 4 pages, about 4 pages. So there will be the second review comments to further improve his paper. And he responds me in a very positive way. He knows all of this comment is not trying to say you are not good. All of the comment is trying to say your paper is very important. You can make your paper become the best paper in the literature. So he knows it. So he put his effort to improve his papers. Okay? So I think there will be something I want to share with you. And it's about time to provide my